Hello everyone, thank you for being here. My name is Tim, and today we're going to be talking about 10 reasons why you want to develop your consciousness. This is a big and important topic because I think a lot of people don't even understand why would they need actually to work on themselves, to work on their consciousness, right? And as always, if you'd like to skip to the summary section or the most important points out of this video, then please check them in the bar below or in the description box below, and you can find all the times around me. Alright, so first of all, let's start with the definition of what's consciousness. Well, I like to keep it very simple, so I don't like to overcomplicate. So it's just awareness, just being aware of your environment, of the world around you, and also of yourself if you can find yourself, of course, but don't worry about this. That's a topic for another video. So yeah, yourself and the environment around you, other people, things, circumstances, situations, everything, like how you are the one contributing to what's happening, or how you're not contributing sometimes, right? It's just about consciousness, just more and more of a global perspective, like a big picture thinking. So hopefully this is clear. And why actually would you want to develop this awareness, this consciousness? Well, first reason is you're not going to take things as personally, because you will understand that, for example, when people say something insulting to you or something that you don't appreciate, you will understand that, hey, you know what? They are acting out of their level of consciousness, of what we were talking about. So they are not really aware what they're doing. Or maybe they think they are. Like they know that in their head they might think that they are like a big alpha male or alpha female that is trying to dominate, right? But in actuality, they are just making a fool out of themselves, and that does not lead to anywhere, like that does not make it productive for anyone, including themselves. And you don't take it personally, because just like in nature, will you get angry at a pig, for example, for the fact that it's a pig? Probably not so much, because you will understand, well, that's just this animal's job is to be a pig, and that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Are you going to be angry at an alligator for being an alligator? I don't think so. I mean, there's like a natural understanding that this is how it's supposed to be, and that's it. You don't have a problem with that. But with people, we quite often have a problem, because we just believe that they are supposed to be like on a different consciousness level, and that's not so. I mean, we look like we are made of the same material, right, on the surface. But if you look deeper, then you will quite clearly see that we are so different, like literally night and day. The difference is quite massive. Another reason why you're not going to be taking things personally is because you will understand that there are at least two parts for people, is because they have their real part, like the part before ego was constructed, and then the ego part. The less conscious the person is, the more they're going to be in their ego self. And the opposite is true as well. Like the less they will be invested in their ego, the more they will be invested in the real self, the real nucleus, basically, of the person, of every single person. The second reason you want to develop your consciousness is you're not going to be resisting life. You're going to be allowing everything to be as it is. Now, I don't mean that from this day on you have to think, everything is the way that it's supposed to be. So that means I should just allow, people to step over me, or disrespecting your boundaries, for example. That's not what I mean. I don't mean tolerate abuse. What I'm talking about is is the fact that you're not going to be overreacting. Like you will want to change the situation, but without too much emotion, if you know what I'm talking about. So you're going to be allowing what is happening to be as it is, and with that, you're not going to be resisting it. You're not going to be fighting with it. And guess what? Because of that, you will enjoy life more, because instead of spending your life or investing your time basically in fighting life, fighting the flow of life, what you're going to be doing is just enjoying the ride and just taking a break for a change, right? Which is great. And the third reason you want to continue developing your consciousness is you're going to be better at manifestation. Not just better at manifestation, you're going to be manifesting faster. So not only better things, but also faster. And why is it so? Because the higher your consciousness is, the more you are attracting positive things. This is just a natural thing that you will see happen in your experience. And low vibe, so to speak, low vibe things, or low vibe, even distractions, or low vibe type of happiness, like drugs, for example, or alcohol, or so on and so forth, they're not going to be attracting as attractive, I mean, to you, right? And because the more consciousness you have, the less foggy your mind is, right? And the less fog you have in your mind, the less attracted you are to things that will make your mind foggy, if you know what I mean, right? Okay, so the fourth reason is you will have better relationships. And this is a big one for a lot of people, because the more conscious you are of yourself, the more you will understand that, oh my God, for example, right now, I'm not reacting out of my real self, so to speak, right? I'm just reacting because I was conditioned in my family to react exactly like this. For example, to be angry at something minor for other people. For you, that might seem like a big tragedy, but for them, it's something small. And to be able to decipher and to understand, oh, you know what, right now I'm acting out of my past conditioning, and you know what, let me just step back and say, sorry, I need some time out, and this is nothing to do with you. This is a mature step, and I think the reason why a lot of people divorce, for example, or they're not friends anymore, is because they don't even understand why they react the way they react. And they think that they are their reactions, but they are not their reactions. They are not their sensations, their bodily sensations, yeah? Or, I'm sorry. They are not their bodily sensations or their feelings, right? Not even their thoughts. And when you understand this, then you can have better relationships. And then you also only allow positive people in, because the higher your consciousness is, the more you understand that, birds of a feather flock together, and you will not want to spend your time with low consciousness people. In fact, you will not even be comfortable spending time with them. And that's the good thing, they will not be really comfortable spending time with you. Well, unless you don't know how to put boundaries, because they will enjoy the company of a higher consciousness person. But if you put your boundaries, well, then they are not able to basically feast on you, right? And then they will discard you. That's a very typical scenario, and you will have to know how to deal with it, unfortunately. Or fortunately, you can decide. Another reason that you want to develop your consciousness is that you're going to have less suffering on a regular basis, less micro suffering, if you can call that, because you probably don't even realize how much you're suffering on a daily basis. And you know what? Pain, for example, might be something real, like based on real thing, right? But then suffering is just mental creation, mental fabrication, mental anguish. And it's completely fictional. Like, for example, you can stub your toe, and of course it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt like hell for a couple of seconds or maybe longer, right? And that's real pain. But then after that, you might be angry at, you know, um, at the bad. Some people are angry at the bad for the fact that it's there, right? Or angry at life, for example, or something else. And that's completely mind-made, and that's unnecessary suffering. So you're not gonna have this the higher your consciousness becomes, right? You're not gonna be angry over some petty things like, I don't know, cold weather, for example, or a coffee that is not as good as the one that you had yesterday, for example, or the traffic jam or the power outage and things like that. You will understand, oh, anger. Okay, anger leads to higher risk of heart attack. Does that is that a good idea for me to be in anger? Probably not so much. So you will just naturally let it go. Like your mind, the cool thing about the mind is the moment you really dig deep and understand all the ramifications, all the consequences of having this or that strategy or this or that thought pattern, when you see that minuses are way more than the pluses, are way heavier than the pluses, then you will let it go. The reason it's so hard to change is because your mind is kind of tricking you into believing that what you are having right now is great. And maybe it is not so. Well, that's only seen when you reach a pretty high level of consciousness. Another reason to develop your consciousness, the sixth one now, is you will have better motivation, and you will have better motivation. Also, it can go actually the other way around, right? But it depends upon which goals we're talking about. Because the higher your consciousness, the more you're going to be leading towards goals that are yours, not society's. If that makes sense. Not the ones that your father told you you want to be, you have to want to be, right? But something that you want to be. So if you've been going towards something that someone else forced you, well, not forced you, but you allowed them to force you to go into a particular field, for example, right? And you hate this job completely. So it's not something neutral, but you just completely loathe this thing, and you're going there, but when you develop yourself, like spiritually, you develop your consciousness, you will not really want to be there. You will just let it go, and you will not really feel shame. That's the cool thing. You're not, well, maybe a little bit in the beginning, but don't worry, it will go away. It will go away very fast. Also, the cool thing is, the higher your consciousness, the easier it will be for you to let go of low consciousness or low vibrational, so to speak, emotions like guilt, shame, anger, sadness, fear, all of these negative things. You will have a better motivation because the low consciousness beliefs, will be debunked, and they will not limit you as much. And also, you will be more like Pollyanna, if you remember this wonderful character. She was playing the glad game. And the glad game, if you remember, it's or if you know this in general, it's basically a very simple game where you just find everything or something that you're glad about. And it comes to everything. So in any situation that you go into, you just find the good thing. What is something that I'm glad to see? That I'm very happy that this exists here, right? And this really motivates you, because when you wake up and your RAS, or your reticular activating system, which is basically a mechanism in your brain that is that can be set to see positivity or negativity. So if you are set to see negativity, well, guess what? You will not be very motivated, and you will not really like your life. You're not really like other people, because you're going to be focused all the time only on the negative things, and this will make your life miserable and basically a nightmare. So when you do the opposite, which is what Pollyanna did, you will suddenly see so much positivity and motivation. You will have motivation because you have energy, and you have energy because you don't focus on the negative part, right? You don't fight with life because you don't focus on the negativity. The seventh reason you want to develop your consciousness is you're going to increase your level of self-love. And I heard a long time ago, there was, I think, a poet, I cannot remember his name, but he said something along the lines of, if I knew you, you knew me, then we'd shake our hands and just be standing there in awe and just enjoy the company of each other. And the same thing is like you can apply the same thing to every single person, because before we acquired this ego, we kind of had the same nucleus, the same essence. That is not something that someone can give us, because we are it. Nobody can take it away from us or give it to us. We have this already. It's just that the ego is just closing our side, or psychic side, emotional side, vibrational side, you can say. And then we think that we are another person from that essence that I'm talking about. And actually, I don't even like this word self-love, because that implies two people. Self-love, so the one who's loving, and then the other one who is being loved, right? Which already creates a separation, but this is just a convention of speech, so I have to use words, and words are limiting, so yeah, I'll have to deal with that. And actually, the cool thing about this is the more you develop your consciousness, the faster you become awakened. And when you're awakened, you will see that this thing called self-love is actually nonsense, kind of nonsense, because self does not exist. You as like a separate entity, you think you are, it does not exist, so there's no need actually for self-love. In that state, in an awakened state, when you are not labeling anything, you don't need love. You don't need self-love, because you are already full. You are already full of all the, love, happiness, fulfillment that you need, basically need in order to enjoy life. So you have what Eckhart Tolle is, he said something along the lines of fullness of life. And he said that even Jesus said this, the fullness of life, which is more important than manifesting anything that you want. Manifesting is great, but having the fullness of life is the most important thing. So manifestation is like the icing on the cake, but fullness of life, or just enjoying life in general, is the cake. So take this into consideration. And now the eighth reason why developing consciousness is really important is because you start to see the unity of everything. You see the connection between everything. And unfortunately, that is only felt in experience. That cannot be understood logically. So don't try to figure it out or try to analyze it. You will never figure it out. This is not figure-outable, if that's even a word. That's only achievable, if you can say so, by a lot of hours of meditation, or just focusing on practices that awaken your mind, right? Of course you can reach it just like some people did, like Eckhart Tolle, for example, right? He reached it basically after having a lot of suffering, so much suffering that he actually seriously thought about committing suicide. And I don't recommend this path. No, it's possible to reach it in a lot more gentler, in a lot more gentle way, right? And when you see the unity of the world, you stop using labels, you stop using even words. You don't describe the world. Believe it or not, when you start to describe the world and use the words of any language that you know, believe it or not, something happens, and then the experience of life actually gets diminished because you start to separate. And it seems like it's such an innocent thing. Like, these are just words. These are just labels, just signs, right? Just symbols that mean something, that have some meaning, apparent meaning behind them. But they are not so innocent. They can actually make your life miserable and create a mind-made prison. That's how powerful they are. And pretty much, I think most suicides are because of this mind-made prison. Most people that think about suicide, they don't want to kill themselves, they want to kill their ego. So basically an egocide, not suicide, right? All right, so the ninth reason that comes out of the eighth one is when you see the unity of things, then you start to be more careful and have a more caring, loving, actually, attitude towards life in general, and towards environment, and towards people, towards life. And you, for example, are not going to be stepping on insects. You're going to be just double checking everywhere you're going. You're most likely not going to be yelling at someone, even if they so-called deserve it, right? If there's a reason for this, you're still not going to tend to want to yell at them back and call them names and all of these things. It's just, you're going to want to stay away from these vibrations naturally, from these energies. And not only that, another important thing is that the higher your consciousness will be, the more the harder it actually will be to tolerate a low consciousness environment, low consciousness person, low consciousness movie. You will not want to gravitate towards certain movies or certain music the way you did, for example, before in your teenage years, right? Right now, they might be not as appealing, not at all. Actually repulsive and disgusting. You're just gonna change in a lot of ways and not even believe how was I able to listen to this? How was I able to read this type of book? How was I able to watch this movie so many times and hang out with those people, with those ideas? Just think this, wow, this is just going to seem like you're a different person. And maybe you are a different person now. And there is an interesting story I want to share, is that when I was developing myself, I was opening to more and more, high consciousness information, so to speak. And I remember I watched a video of a Russian psychic. He said that he does not kill mosquitoes. And I'm like, wow, well, he kills them only when it's, by accident, when he's sleeping, or something like that. But not intentionally. When he sees them, he just lets them go. Or sometimes even lets them drink his blood and then go away. I thought this is amazing, and I really liked the energy of this person. And in general, I really like this idea to just let go these insects, because if you think about it, it's not their fault that they are the way that they are, and they have a tendency to want to suck blood. And maybe if I was a mosquito, that this is exactly what I would be doing, and maybe you too, right? So why should we kill them? I just resonated with this idea, and then I started to let them go. And I think I saved, not me, I think that person that made this video, thanks to him, I didn't kill about not thousand, sorry, like 150 insects, including mosquitoes, even cockroaches, and other insects, which is quite fascinating if you think about it. And maybe you might start to be more loving towards the world. Even though it's not a big problem if you just kill them, like in self-defense, for example, if there's a very dangerous wasp that is trying to, sting your child, then probably you should take measures, right? But other than that, I think you will want to be more loving towards them and understanding, and want to save their life. And the last reason why you want to develop your consciousness is because you're going to be helping the universe, literally. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but you will be helping them with the Maharishi effect, or Maharishi effect. It's basically, it was studied a lot of times, actually, and the theory is that it only takes 1% of people that are practicing transcendental meditation to lower the crime rates of the other 99% of the population. So yeah, they've done studies in different countries, like in India, in the Philippines, in the US, and some other countries, and they saw that like a group of people can literally, for some reason, change the slope, right? And they have actually data to back it up, which is quite fascinating. So that proves that our consciousness really influences the world in general. And also there's another interesting example of Eckhart Tolle when he was visiting his father and his father's second wife, if I'm not mistaken. And when he would visit them, she would, she had like some type of paranoia when she would think that everyone is trying to get her or something, or is plotting something evil against her, right? And when he would arrive there and he would be there with them for like a week or so, her symptoms would just drop, would diminish. Well, because of his presence. His presence is so powerful that all of these symptoms of her paranoia would just either go out the window or just be diminished to the minimum. And then when he went away, they just came back, like these symptoms. The same thing happens with teachers. Like when you're trying to awaken, it's very, it's recommended to do it with someone who is already awakened, rather than just reading a book and trying to do this by yourself. It is possible to do it by yourself, but it's going to take a little bit longer, because when you are with another person who's already there, somehow, some way, their consciousness is going to influence you. And the same practices that you've been doing for even years sometimes, they can be, 5-10 times more powerful just because of the presence of that guru, that person that can help you out. Also, some interesting information. Did you know that there are some business people that hire monks to be with them and just to basically exist close to them, just so that they attract luck and they attract good clients, good deals, good partners, and so on and so forth, a lot of money, a lot of abundance, just a happy life. And these monks are so powerful that with their energy, they don't even have to do anything specific. They can just exist there, and all of the abundance will get attracted to them, and subsequently, of course, to the person that is close to them, the business person. All right, so these were the 10 reasons why developing consciousness is a great idea, even though it might take you a pretty long while to develop it, because it's a long process. But it's worth it. It's always worth it, because it's going to change a lot of things, everything actually in your life. The way you see things is the way things become, right? All right, so if you have any questions or maybe suggestions, then please leave a comment down below. I appreciate the fact that you're here. Thank you very much. Here is the summary, and see you in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.